Hello.
Hello.
Morning.
Right. Good afternoon.
Right, this is the EMEA one. I'm supposed to say afternoon, aren't
No, it's okay.
I? This also isn't coffee, it's afternoon tea, right? That's what we're doing.
Yeah, actually, it's coffee. Yeah. Besides, I'm in Europe. I'm a Brazilian, so coffee every
There you
a
go.
long day.
Zach says he's reinstalling Zoom, so he'll be here in a minute. There are links to the notes doc if you all want to add your information in the attendees section.
All right, hey everyone. Sorry I'm a minute or so late. Looks like Jason has me more than covered. We'll wait for a minute or so for folks to trickle in. In the meantime, I guess good afternoon/evening EMEA folks who are the focus of today's meeting. And if it's early for you, that's tough. We have a pretty sparse agenda, though the item that is on it, I'm excited about. So if any folks have anything else they wanna cover, update us on today, feel free to drop something in the notes. I also don't see action items from last meeting, which I had to miss, unfortunately. So if there was action items, also drop those in the agenda. Otherwise, we can maybe have a short meeting. All right, well, following the same heuristic that I use when I'm making popcorn in the microwave, I think it's time to get started. First up on our agenda is a demo slash, I guess, just general discussion around a project called RStuff or RStuff. I'm sure Kyra is going to tell us how it's canonically pronounced. But basically, this is sort of like a almost, service that runs Tough for you, which I think might be of interest to a lot of folks in this group who are interested in maybe adding something like Tough to the package repositories, but worried about sort of the maintenance and management burdens of that. Cairo, do you have permissions to share your screen?
Yes, I do.
All right, great.
Yeah. Okay. So the usual question. You can see my screen, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. First, thank you for this invite. Great to be here. I want to share this project. The name is Repository Service for Tough, but we call it our stuff or our stuff, or we are playing with that. So Nice. Yeah, the idea of this project is secure content download. But we go for more details. So I work at VMware. I'm open source engineer at OSPO. And today, what I planned here is give an introduction, a bit about TUF and the motivation for this project. And then I walk through the project, the design and details. I will share also use case for our stuff. And having time, we go for this our stuff demo, and I want to talk about the project in general. So let's get started. So yeah, I will try to give an introduction, a very high level about TUF, the update framework. I'm not an expert in TUF. I'm approaching TUF in very specific level and specific path. So why? But I'm comfortable to talk about TUF here. We have a lot of TUF experts here in that conf. So in the end, if someone has some specific question, maybe we can open for that. And I know that there are some people here that can, folks here that can help me with that. So, so the update framework is hosted by Linux Foundation. It's part of the CNCF, and this project starts with the specification that is really matured specification, and the stuff is used by large company like Google, Amazon, Datadog, Sigstore. But why should software repository care about TUF? Yeah, when we say repository, we always think about signing package, and TUF does it as well, but TUF does a bit more. It adds more the concept of freshness, consistency, and integrity. How TUF does it? It's by the metadata structure that contain roles and delegations that have those signatures there. And for example, for these roles, we have timestamp that give the freshness. We have the snapshot that guarantee that the repository metadata is consistent. And also TUF helps to reduce the impact if one of the keys of the roles are compromised, and allow very quick recovery from that. When we talk about TUF signature, the verification policy needs to be highlighted here, because it verifies the signature is an authorized entity, and also if this signature is still valid. So, but I don't want to go too much in details here about TUF. We can cover it more in the end if someone wants to discuss about this. And there are a lot of good documentation and presentation blog posts where you can get more about TUF. So to explain the motivation for the project, I need to share my journey about TUF. So when I first joined the project TUF, I felt very lost about the name framework. When I went to the TUF website, I said, where I can get it and download it and then use this, apply it in my environment. And then it took me a while to understand that the effort in TUF was in the specification that is very good, and also in the libraries that help people to implement TUF. So I had a friend, I was already contributing with Python TUF, joined the community, and a friend asked me how they could protect their clients, because they have this idea of downloading packages for the clients. Actually, they have like a system update that the platform can has a kind of live update that, but he was really looking for how to protect this. Then I shared stuff with them, and it's really small company. And when he tried to go to the specification, try to implement it, he made a project plan for the company, and it was just rejected by the manager because they need a lot of people to do this, about a year to do this, to implementation, everything. So I was also a bit frustrated with the situation and said, okay. Then I started contributing with PyPI, the PEP 458. I have a pull request there that implement stuff to PyPI. When I was working with that, I said, "Whoa, this is great! The design of PEP 458 together with TUF, it's amazing. It could be used for more people. More people could have this benefit of PEP 458 and TUF in an easy way to start." And I started this in April, like designing how it could be done, and also to be able to test some stuff related. It's not good to use this stuff word, but yeah, I was testing some design for PEP 458 as well, and I started this project like in parallel just to be able to exercise some situations that PyPI could have in deploying stuff. And later, I don't know if Yussi is here, but Yussi gave a talk in the Open Source Summit, and was really something that motivated me. I felt represented there because what he shared was exactly my thinking, that repositories are more alike than they are different, and a lot of problems are shared by the repository. So then I come up with this idea. So what is our stuff, repository set for TUF? So we try to implement the repository with the TUF, the sign metadata from TUF as a service, simple like that. But of course, implementing this is not easy. We are facing this challenge now. And what are the outcomes of this project? Actually, it's to enable corporations, project teams, small or large, to implement TUF to secure the content delivery. It will be helping the secured supply chain in general, in my opinion. So, and another thing is about helping the TUF community, because we always, when you talk about the repository, we don't have a really open design implemented where you can receive some ideas or how is the good way to implement TUF. So, and we can also contribute back to the library saying, look, we need to change this, or even to the specification, say, we are facing this kind of problems in large deployment to scale, how we can implement it better. So this is the whole idea. So I'll talk about our stuff design. So the goal here for our stuff is to be easy to integrate. So we want to integrate TUF and our stuff actually along the current artifact production system. So doesn't matter if you running how you generate the artifacts, but basically it will cover like a CI/CD, an existent artifact system, or a distribution platform that can be just call our stuff to say, look, I have a new target to the metadata, please add it. And now the mechanism behind that is management of the TUF metadata will be done by our stuff. And we don't want to also change the way that people expose or they expose data repository. Doesn't matter if the artifact in the end is in a web server, a JFrog Artifactory, a Docker Hub registry, because we don't take care of this layer. We just take care of the TUF metadata. So what I will give an overview about the TUF metadata design, but it's not the goal here to go deep on that. So the repository and the metadata is based in PEP 458. That when I saw it, I I felt that it could be useful for many people the way that this is designed. Our stuff use Python Tough. Python Tough now has a very modern and reliable metadata management for Tough. And really, we want to implement PEP 458 480. That is the end-to-end signing on top of our stuff. And we have a lot of ideas. Every time that I discuss it with someone, we come up with ideas. So about the service design, because we are talking that we provide it as a service. So to deploy our stuff, we provide containers image to be easy to deploy. We provide a management tool, CLI, to manage the our stuff and the metadata in some flows. We provide an API integration. It means that CI/CD can be integrated, or any kind of artifact management or distribution system. So, and because that design, we can deploy our stuff in the edge, in cloud, private or public. And one thing that I need to highlight here is, we also have the scale to support very active repository. It means you could have multiple APIs, multiple workers that are the components for the our stuff. I will cover it about these components next. So what are the our stuff components? So as I said, we provide, now we have two main container images. One is the REST API. The REST API basically is for integration and management. So the CLI will be using the same API. We have one unique API. And we have the our stuff worker. The worker is where the knowledge about managing the metadata backend reside. And we also, the worker also do integrate, we can use, because we have the metadata, we need to store the metadata in some place. So now it supports local file system, but we want to support also SAS, for example, object storage. So it means that the metadata can be in an object storage. And also the key storage interface, because in that design of the metadata, you require some online keys. And those online keys now can be stored in the local file system, but this we use more for development, but we want for the first release also support at least one or two SaaS key management services. So it means that those online keys could be in that place. So what you see in the left or in the right in this diagram is that you have the two services that they are not really part of the CI/CD or your build system. Actually, to go along with that, and the integration is done by API. So you see also the storage service and the key services that what the worker will be, where the worker will be operating the metadata, the physical metadata. So as you see also, the API doesn't have knowledge about the tough metadata, how to manage this, but it sends everything as a task to the broker. That could be RabbitMQ, Redis, something like that. And the worker actually consumes from this broker and do the tasks. So in that way, you can scale and have multiple workers managing that metadata. And the metadata, the storage needs to be exposed, because we know that the metadata for Tough needs to be exposed along with the artifacts that you have, the package or whatever. So talking about the command line is to make easier to people operate the R stuff. So if you want to integrate, for example, with CI/CD, probably you want to have some token to put in your CI/CD. We'll see it later here. So is where the CLI goes. And of course, the repository manager. So if you have one key compromised, how I rotate the key. So you can use the CLI to do this kind of operations. And one thing that also was very difficult for people when I presented TUF, how I create the first initial metadata. I need to create a script, how I do the ceremony. So we are creating a ceremony process inside of the CLI to make easy for who want to implement the R stuff with TUF metadata. So here I give two use case. The first one is the CI integration, and our demo will be on top of that as well. So usually how it works, you have your build system with CI, CD. So you just integrate it to your CD using the REST API, the token, and it will, when you have a new release, you say to the R stuff, here's the information about my new package, and it will manage in the metadata. The second case here, it's the distribution platform. The same, I will give an example like a PyPI. Imagine that PyPI, you push, you send a new, you publish some new package. It goes, use some Twine tool or something like that. It goes to the distribution platform, and this goes to the storage where you can download the artifact. So in that layer also, you add the calls to the API. You can integrate this API with the web UI if you want, or depending on how easy your process. So I give the demonstration based in the first scenario that I will have a CI running. The CI will run the checks. After my CD will ask me to approve the new release, and the new release go with the new artifact and also the TUF metadata updated. So what I will be using in that demonstration here, my R stuff is deployed in cloud. Also, the metadata is stored in cloud. It's just a web server that has access to my storage. Git will be my GitHub here, and actions my CI/CD I will be using GitHub Actions, and the repository where my artifacts are stored will be the GitHub release. Simple. Will be my personal GitHub account. So yeah. So here's the deployment. I deployed using Kubernetes, but could be something simpler or more complex. This is the API metadata that is exposed. Oh, sorry. Yeah. So yeah, the Kubernetes and here's the metadata, the JSON files on the metadata. So the next step, I'm showing a bit of the CLI. I'm generating a token. So here I'm generating a token to integrate to the GitHub Actions. I generated a token just with write scope, so GitHub will be able just to add a target. And here I'm doing the integration. I'm adding the token to the GitHub Actions in my secrets. I'm not showing the pipeline now, but I will show it later when it runs. So I show it at once. So here's someone is releasing a new version of a package. I create a demo package here. So how it's done, I just push a new tag and it will trigger my CI/CD. When it pushes to my CI/CD, I will have the building part. Then later I will be asked to approve the new release. So now it's waiting for my approval. Yeah, I approved this, and it will trigger the CD that will run together with our stuff. Sorry for that. Yeah. So yeah. So here it's where is my integration, my CI. You see that it's just calling my our stuff in cloud, giving the token, then adding the information about the targets that goes to the metadata. So in my release, in my metadata, you can see also it was added the new demo package release. And next, in the page, you can see the release as well. So next, what I did, I create a simple client of for TUF. Imagine that this could be an apt. I'm doing apt download, or could be pip download something. So I'm downloading the latest version from my repository. Here you see that I don't really need I'm not taking care of the file, but I'm taking care only the metadata. The file is still in the GitHub package or GitHub releases. So then to make the demonstration a bit more interesting, I'm simulating a temporary version. Imagine that someone found that he has access to create a release through the GitHub web page, but of course it will not trigger my CI/CD. So he's creating a fake release here. Let's say someone is going there and adding a higher version of the package, and it was not sorry, the screens are switching. Yeah, he created the temporary one, added a malicious package, and published the release. So it means that in my repository, in the GitHub release, he was able to add something, but not in my TUF metadata, because he didn't use my CI with my credentials or whatever. And then I simulate with the same download that it will fail because it is not able to find the package in the metadata with the correct signature only the release page. So what's the status of the project? So still in experimental, it started just April, and now I have really people helping me at VMware with this. Our roadmap, yeah, we have we want to have the minimum working version soon in April and in February, and maybe the first release in April, where you can know more. We are in the Slack. We have a Slack channel in the CNCF Slack. We have also the documentation that is available. But if you have a really specific use case, I would love to talk more with you, understand more what if the APIs, the flows, everything fits for you, or have some kind of feedback or ideas. How you can play with our stuff. You can deploy it using Docker. I'll leave here the link where you have the instructions how to deploy it. The images are available in the GitHub registry. But I would like to say also, if you don't want to deploy it, but you want to just start checking it, I have a deploy in the cloud. I can generate a token for someone. Just request me, reach me out, and I'll give you a token that you can play with that. I have the API available together with the metadata that is running. You can play with that together with me. Yeah, so thank you. Sorry, I took 5 minutes more than expected, but it's that.
I'd be more mad if we had more on the agenda. That was awesome. Thank you so much, Kara. I want to open the floor to questions if anyone has any. Okay, I do have one, which is a lot of the sort of example, deployments and demos that you talked about using CI. We're using sort of more like symmetric auth options. I was wondering whether you had considered anything like support for, like, for instance, GitHub Actions has an OAuth identity associated with each job that runs, and using that sort of thing for authentication. Is that something you've considered? Is that on the roadmap? Feel free to tell me that doesn't make any sense also.
Yeah, no, actually, I discussed it before with some folks, and actually this authentication and authorization shouldn't even be in our stuff, right? Because I don't care about, so we have in a roadmap, you can see it there, we have a feature that it's the possibility to someone that deploy disable the authentication and authorization, because probably you want to use something more powerful in the front, like an API gateway or SSO authentication. You have a complex LDAP. So yeah, this will be there for people that can to be easy to someone that is very small and want to have a minimal authentication authorization, to be honest.
Cool, that makes sense. Yeah, and I can see opportunities, and I know many of the folks working on this are acquainted with SigStore for potential integration there. That's one nice way to sort of turn these GitHub OIDC identities into signatures that you can verify externally. If I'm in the I just joined the Slack channel on the CNCF, so happy to follow up there and discuss further. Yeah, Jason, is that a question?
Yeah, I had a quick question. Maybe a clarification. One of the demos you showed kind of separate, dealing with the metadata. Like the demo pick command and is pulling down metadata, but not the actual package itself. I don't know if that's something unique to our stuff or tough in general. But you mentioned several times the separation of the metadata versus the actual artifact or component, right? And I was wondering if you could maybe dive into that a little bit more, if it's unique to our stuff or your implementation.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's not unique. If you see Python Tough, the ng client, actually, you say where your artifact when we in the tough metadata just to take care of the path plus the package. So the tough will retrieve it for you. Or if I say something wrong here, you see. Or Lucas, everyone could.
Sure. Okay, thank you.
If I add something, I think, oh, you raised the hand formally. You want to say something?
Go ahead.
No, I think it's specific for Tough to separate the artifacts and the metadata, and our stuff probably amplifies this by having a completely separate service that only takes care of the metadata and proper APIs. So the PR that Cairo talked about initially on Warehouse, on the API code, basically does the whole metadata handling and artifact handling in the same code base. But with RS Tough, you have a clearer separation of those things.
So I had a question that kind of relates to the earlier authentication thing, and that's just a bit broader. Since the problem with any kind of automated and online signing of anything kind of is that you need to decide what your automation is going to verify before it stamps it as like, this is a good release, let's give it to users. And those are kind of tricky decisions to make. Like what do you actually want to check before you accept this artifact as good? Have you figured out how to kind of do the right thing in general, but then also somehow give people the option to, figure out their own, like, how do they check their artifacts if you understood what I mean.
To be honest, not much, but it's something that I'm not answering because actually maybe I didn't think about that yet. Because I don't know if it should be in a layer before sending it to our stuff, because it depends of which kind of repository a bit, or how you provide. I mean, I see it more as a flow before you releasing something, like the same way that I do the approval, say, okay, here I approve the demo package version 103. So it's about adding a step.
Yeah, I got it. I mean, of course, that then means that the CI system is now even more critical because you're going to trust the CI system. So it kind of like, if you had your checks behind the wall in our stuff side, then they might kind of be less susceptible to, CI system being broken into, but it's not an easy issue. So yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, also for distribution system, like let's think about PyPI. It would be more internal, also a step, right, before adding a package. So it's a bit hard to cover it for all scenarios.
Hey, sorry. Just wondering about how to, I think you already answered this, but I'm going to ask again. How do you connect the metadata back to the artifact if they're in different services? You put in a URL of where the artifact is it?
Actually, you define it in your client. Let's say that you are changing the apt to work with, or let's say that you are changing pip to work with the tough metadata, and also the pypi.org repository where the packages are, right? So when you create your client, your pip, in that pip you put this information. Of course, you have where is my repository for the artifacts, and where is my address for my metadata. I don't know if I answered well.
Yeah,
but,
so would it be then different for depending on the package manager? Is it or
yeah, it's client side, yeah, I would say.
Yeah, and does that have any, is there any issues that you might foresee there, like the way with SBOMs, how sometimes connecting the SBOM back to the artifact itself can sometimes, I think it's called the naming problem or something like that. Is there any issues there?
Yeah, I don't know how to answer it, to be honest. I don't know if you someone.
If you don't mind, I can take a stab. So I think here, right, the important thing is that when you ask Tough to resolve basically a package by its name, that package name has to be canonical. And what you get out of that is a cryptographic hash of that package, which is nice because that's going to be safe. So as long as the thing you ultimately get matches that hash, I think you're in good shape. And you can do that either indirectly by a convention where I take this package name that I just looked up in Tough and I just hit, pypi.org/packages/ etc., the same package name. If you just do exactly that, you should wind up in the same place. I've seen other repositories either propose or actually sort of cut out this middle step and say, okay, you're going to look up the hash here, and then we have this, sort of content addressable store where you're just going to query, data.repository.com for the hash and then get that artifact directly. So I think those are two ways you can sort of tackle this problem. Jussi, did you have anything to add? I know you're about to say something.
Well, I was going to mention that this is kind of related to the whole target discovery aspect of Tough that isn't really there. A lot of people are finding that out kind of the hard way, that Tough doesn't provide this kind of idea of looking for something. Like you mentioned, you need to know the exact identifier for whatever you're looking for. As long as you know that, then it works, but it's just a method of downloading things, not for searching for, packages.
All right, any other questions for Cairo?
A quick question, Carol. In terms of the presentation you just gave, is it possible for you to share a link to that or share it with this group?
Yeah, of course. I will share in the channel, the Slack channel.
Okay, yeah, that's perfect. And then I'll go ahead once I see that and dump it in these notes and distribute. So thanks.
Thanks.
All right. Well, thanks again, Cairo. That was super interesting. Yeah, I think really promising because I personally am excited about Tough as a sort of mechanism to be put in place on a lot of repositories, and I think we've heard over and over again that there are a lot of hurdles to actually rolling that out. So if we can reduce those, all the better. Okay, there's not a lot added to the agenda. Someone suggested to me that since this is perhaps the first time that many folks in this room were able to make, that we could start with, I guess, but we could sort of welcome everyone with sort of a little bit of background on this group, what we've been up to so far, how it works, etc. In case this is your first time at this meeting. I'm happy to attempt to give a summary of the history that is totally unprepared. So if I get anything wrong or I'm missing anything, feel free to add it in the chat or holler. So this is the OpenSSF Securing Software Repositories Working Group. What does that mean? It means that we get a bunch of people in a room and talk a lot about how to make package managers and repositories more secure, and specifically focusing on the repository angle. So, think things like PyPI, Maven Central. We have representation from Cargo, OS package managers. I think someone from Gentoo is hung out every once in a while. Some more experimental stuff, which is cool. Something like Nix, or there's folks working on WebAssembly packages, or I guess modules is the actual name for that. But any case where you're distributing software, and one other potential use case is sort of the ML community has their analogs of these repositories as well. And so everyone in this room wants to make those safer. I think the best way we can do that is to sort of not in a vacuum, all in parallel, kind of try to figure everything out, but sort of learn from the best examples of other folks. I think to that end, I don't know that this group can or should take credit, but during its lifetime, we have seen some really cool proposals and implementations of security features. Things like PyPI, rolling out 2FA for mandatory for essential packages, and coordinating that with, sort of distributing hardware security keys to a lot of its top maintainers. Things like proposals for package signing, and there are a number of variations of what that could look like. I believe in NPM, an RFC for package signing that actually looked a little bit like what was in the example where you're having the CI system do the signing and not the maintainers themselves. That proposal for NPM was merged recently, and I believe that effort is underway. I don't have the details of development there. So cool stuff like that, learning from other repositories. In terms of logistics, we have this meeting. We have it's going to be every 4 weeks. There's another meeting on the alternate 2 weeks. So 2 weeks from now, there will be an Asia Pacific friendly meeting time. So very, very, very late for folks in EMEA time zones. And so they're all recorded. If you have anything you want to say, feel free to drop stuff in the notes and someone can read something for you. But there's also a lot of asynchronous communication. A lot of that happens in Slack, on the OpenSSF Slack, and the Securing Software Repositories Working Group, or maybe it's WG Securing Software Repositories, something like that. You'll find it. And then there's an email list too, which I believe is I can drop a link in the chat here. Less traffic on the email list, though it's encouraged if you're interested in participating in conversations. Yeah, I think that covers a lot of what we've done. Check the meeting minutes. We have 167 pages of meeting minutes. So if you're looking for some nice beach reading, take a gander at those. But feel free to ask too if you have questions and you don't want to read through 167 pages if we've ever covered something before. What are our, oh, there's a charter. The charter is linked from the Slack channel. I can also drop a link to that. Yeah, and I think our general goal is sort of coordination more than doing anything like we're not making rules. We may sort of after we bang our heads together and come up with some good ideas, make suggestions, or it almost feels too strong to call them recommendations. Nothing in this group is going to be binding of anyone, but might represent sort of collective wisdom. And that's kind of, I think, the most realistic work output that directly comes out of this group. But I think many of the folks involved who do represent actual package repositories are doing way cooler and really, really tangible work outputs, which we love to hear about. All right, thanks for letting me ramble. Anyone else who's been here for a while have anything they want to add, or any newcomers have any questions? All right, well then I'm happy to call it a meeting. Hope to see you 4 weeks from now. Hope to see you in the Slack. Sorry about the Zoom mishap. I am working on, oh, is that a hand, Brandon?
Yeah, I just want to give a quick update on the survey that we did for the package managers. I linked in the notes kind of like a few takeaways that I put together based on the survey results. If anyone wants to look through data.
Background?
Sorry
to interrupt. Can you give a quick background on the survey, what it's trying to accomplish, before you go into the results?
Yeah, so I think a while back, one of the things we decided to do is to kind of get a general sense on where package managers were with their supply chain security and security stories in general. You know, this covers like integrity, the code signing stuff, malicious packages, authentication and MFA, all the way to like security testing for your infrastructure and supply chain security for like the binaries you release as part of your infrastructure. So part of this was to understand where package managers are, and also to kind of drill down like what are areas in which like multiple package managers are like looking for capabilities but don't really have a solution, and hopefully the group can come together or to kind of develop the solutions together or create shared solutions for certain problems, or just to have a dialogue around all this, right? So the survey basically sent out was like, oh, are you protected against, do you have MFA? What kind of MFA do you have? Or if you don't, are you interested, or is this something that you're not looking to implement at all? And basically we sent this out to a bunch of package managers. We got back about 11, including, you know, the main languages, the popular languages. So we had like PyPy, Ruby Gems, NPM, different flavors of Java, and many more. So the doc that I have in that is kind of like the summary of results, at least my interpretation of it. I'm not sure how I can best share the actual data with folks. I can export it to a spreadsheet, but that's not super readable. But let me do that, and I'll edit the notes as well. Yeah, I think my hope here is to like get a little bit more feedback, see whether we can get a bunch of takeaways, and maybe have this be put on like maybe be in the GitHub repository, and then we can possibly like have a blog post about this.
Cool, thanks, Brandon. And sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I didn't see it at the bottom of the notes. There's one more item, Joshua. Can I ask you to give it just an announcement?
Sure, yeah, I just wanted to share that PackagingCon, which had its first instance in 2021, is going to happen again in 2023. Nothing concrete is set yet, and the website isn't even up to date, but I highly encourage folks in this working group to kind of pay attention and submit to the conference and attend. When it does happen, I will try and endeavor to come back with more concrete details when they exist. So just a heads up when you're planning 2023 talks, I guess.
Yeah, and I encourage you to look. The website, I believe, still has the program from 2021. A lot of, I presume, to most of the folks in this room, very, very interesting content. Cool stuff around, package managers, package repositories generally, and specifically on security. So check those out. I think they're all recorded and available online too.
Yep.
Yes, they are. Yeah. I'm on the organizing committee for PackagingCon. So if anybody wants to help. Yeah, the CFP should be coming out probably in the next 2 to 3 weeks is what we're aiming for.
Well, very cool. Appreciate your work, Cheng, and anyone else on the organizing committee putting that together.
Yeah, you're welcome.
All right. Well, then I think we can call it a wrap for today. Thanks again, Cairo, for swinging by. That was a cool demo. Hopefully we can see further collaboration and use of that project in the future. Otherwise, I guess see you all in 4 weeks or 2 weeks if that works out for you time zone wise.
Thank you.
Thanks, Zach.
Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks.